Hello, I'm Jerry Parrish, and welcome to this edition of Georgia by the Numbers. Today I want to talk about the job numbers that were recently released and talk a little bit about interest rates and the effect they're having on housing starts in the Atlanta metro area. Let's start with the jobs. Georgia's job numbers have continued to grow. Since February 2020, Georgia has added 277,800 jobs. That's a 5.9% growth rate compared to the U.S. growth rate of 3.2%. Georgia continues to be a top state for job growth. You can see on the heat map which MSAs in Georgia gain the most jobs. Here we see the job growth and the percentage growth. The darker the green, the higher the growth rate. Gainesville MSA again has the highest growth rate at 10.4%, followed by Rome, Brunswick, Atlanta, and Savannah. The Atlanta MSA grew by 221,400 jobs. That is 80% of the state's total. Now let's look at the industries where the job growth came from. Here you can see the top producer of jobs today compared to pre-COVID. The top industry for growth was trade, transportation, and utilities. That's followed by healthcare, also with more than 50,000 jobs. Many of those jobs are in ambulatory health care. That means outpatient care. Professional and business services come next, and a subsection of that, called scientific and technical services, is the top subcategory in that industry. Architecture and engineering, as well as management and scientific consulting, have had very high growth rates. Leisure and hospitality has been another top producer of jobs, with accommodation and food services being the top subcategory in job increases. Finance and insurance produced 20,000 jobs. Construction and manufacturing are also strong. Now I want to talk about interest rates. We've seen an increase of around 5 percentage points since the Federal Reserve has raised the federal funds rate to combat inflation. One of the questions I get a lot lately is, are rising interest rates having an effect on the housing market in the Atlanta metro area? This chart shows monthly housing permits from 1988 through 2023. You can see that when we look at a 12-month moving average of housing permit numbers, those have been increasing since the COVID pandemic until about a year ago. It does look like higher interest rates are having an effect on new private home building. We know mortgage rates have dropped a little since the peak in October of last year. Is that going to help the housing supply? Well, I'll be watching that, and I'll give you an update later this year. Thanks for joining me for this edition of Georgia by the Numbers.